is one of the things that I love most about the Tao and being close to nature. I'm like, double down on being a human, you know,
Mhm.
refine your human skills, be a human in this digital space and do the things that the machines and the robots will not be able to replicate because they're never going to be able to.
That's right.
And living in that way and realizing that you're a human being having a human experience, that you're part of the natural world, and really leaning into that, I think is what's going to be most advantageous to creative people like ourselves in the face of this AI technology that staring down at all of us.
It's not only going to help you stay creative, it's going to help you stay sane.
Yes.
Because being part of the technological world
Hmm.
is unstable.
Yes.
Being part of the natural world is healing
Hmm.
and supportive.
Hmm.
And it's an acknowledgement that ultimately we do all come from the natural world.
Hmm.
Every single particle of us is available in the environment. So,
Hmm.
what a miracle that it's assembled into us,
Yes.
living and breathing and loving and acting in this world.
Hmm.
Shouldn't we reaffirm that
Hmm.
instead of being tricked into thinking that this world of technology and money
Hmm.
is the only thing? And by definition, that will not sustain you because it is exploitive.
Hmm.
And are we here to be mined like something out of the ground?
Hmm.
And by definition, when you're mined, you're ruined.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's better to be part of nature and it's better to be true to oneself.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. So on that note, being true to oneself, realizing that you're a human being, being part of the natural world. Can you, for example, if you were to explain just some basic concepts of your book, 365 Tao, to somebody that was perhaps interested in reading and dipping a toe in Taoism, what would you say to that person?
Well, first of all, you have to understand what Tao means,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And Tao normally means the way, a road. It
Hmm.
can mean truth and reason.
Hmm.
It can mean method
Hmm.
and skill.
Hmm.
This is hard for people, but it means morality.
Hmm.
And I can explain that in a minute.
Hmm.
And it means to speak. And so this is a confusing, cluster of meanings.
Hmm.
And people usually just default to Tao, the way.
Hmm.
What does that mean? So if you travel between Australia and Costa Rica,
Hmm.
should I try to dig up every step that you made to find out what your journey was? Or was it in the movement?
Hmm.
So Tao is the movement of the world.
Hmm.
Every movement, good and bad, right? Hard and soft, light and dark, everything. And so if the whole universe is moving in one direction,
Hmm.
like being on the ocean, shouldn't you go with it?
Hmm.
Now, if you decide to go against it, you're not going to go very far, are you? If you decide to go with it, then you'll have an easier life. But you have to look at that more closely. There's a way to follow that. So the first thing is, well, if Tao is moving in this direction, does it make any sense to try to oppose it? Well, it's you're not going to go very far if you do. All
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
What's the best way to follow it then? Don't you have to defer to it? And then if you're going to follow it, don't you need skill?
Hmm.
Because somebody on a river, for example, in a canoe, well, if they know how to paddle and navigate, they're going to do better than someone who doesn't, right?
Hmm.
Then what about Tao as morality? You see, you have to really think about this. because the Taoists feel that the world is sacred.
Mhm.
And that runs counter to Western assumptions.
Mhm.
They think that the world is just this dumb place that they can get stuff from and dump stuff on. And that's their idea of the world. They also think that morality is something that is made up by religious people.
Mhm.
In contrast, because the Taoists feel that this world is sacred, it therefore is the example of truth and the example of virtue and morality.
Mhm.
So, to be a good person is to be natural. See? So,
Mhm.
then what does that mean? We're all together on this planet. Does it make any sense to divide people up? Now, what happens in a natural disaster? Do we stop to ask if you're a Republican or a Democrat? Do we stop to ask, is this a woman or man? Do
Mhm.
we stop to ask if you're a crook or a saint? We try to rescue everyone.
Mhm.
Are we not all in the same dilemma?
Mhm.
You might think that some people living in skyscrapers and wearing $10,000 suits are far removed, and maybe they think that, but that's not true. We all face the same conditions,
Mhm.
not the least of which are aging, illness, and death. So why add to the misery of other people,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So if you want to follow Tao, it means that you respect the natural rhythms of life.
Mhm.
You respect the contours of your life and you go with that. And you realize that you have an obligation to help other people because we're all in the same boat.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, in terms of 365 Tao, it's a question of looking within because you'll see that there are a lot of passages about meditation.
Mhm.
You see, for the Taoists, a natural person is a microcosm of the greater world. So everything that is true outside is also true inside. And so if we contemplate and meditate on what's inside, it shows us the patterns that we can look for on the outside. And then we can match those two things and thereby understand what spiritual truth is. And if we can mesh inside with outside,
Mhm.
that's the best way to live because we then are completely a part of the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
You have to have integrity in life.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that yet.
Mhm.
What does it mean to stick to your principles when everything is going to hell? When you're disappointed,
Mhm.
when things aren't working your way, when other people are against you? Will you abandon your beliefs or will you stick to them? And that's not just being stubborn,
Mhm.
it's being committed to a life of integrity. And why? Because ultimately it's easier. You see, if you are immoral, if you just do whatever, is the easy thing to do, if every time everything goes wrong, you just say, oh, it's bad luck, and so on, you're just going drift. So if Tao is movement, Tao is a path, you have to follow it consciously.
Mhm.
If you just drift, you're not going to get anywhere.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, I love that. It's just moving with intention, like,
Exactly.
yeah, having an intentionality to your integrity, as you said, knowing thyself, knowing who you are, and staying true to that, but at the same time moving in harmony of the way, the natural unfolding of life.
That's really important to emphasize. You see, I
Mhm.
think it's more comparable to someone singing in a choir.
Mm.
See, I have to intend it to be on the beat, to sing the notes right. to sing my part, to stay in my register, to be in harmony with others, to pay attention to the conductor, pay attention to the audience. It takes a lot of intention,
Mm,
but I'm doing that to be in harmony with other people and in harmony with a song.
mhm.
Some people hear the word intention and they think, oh, well, then my intention is to dominate the world. That's not what that kind of intention means. It's the intention of participation and not the intention of conquest.
Yeah. Hmm. I agree. And something else that I love about the Tao or the way, and especially the way you present it in your book, is that the responsibility for your life and yourself is with you. It's not
Yes.
for men. It's the thing. I was raised Catholic, baptized, went to an all
Mm,
Anglican school, all of that. I had the religious dogma shoved down my throat. Came out of that, went completely atheist, which is, I think, a pretty typical path once you.
right, right.
But then, I got to a point in my life where I wanted to have a spiritual practice. I knew there was something else out there, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. But I didn't want the dogma and the rules and a white man in the sky looking down telling me what to. None of that made sense to me. It just didn't resonate. And what I loved so much about the Tao, it was more of a philosophy for a way of life, a way of living that put a lot of responsibility on yourself.
But puts all the responsibility on yourself.
Yeah.
And here's the problem with so many religions, including aspects of Taoism itself, is they hold that somebody
Hmm.
is the go-between with you and the holy.
Mm.
And this kind of Taoism, it's you direct.
Mhm.
There's no middle person,
Mhm.
right? There's no ritual that is going to completely be the vehicle.
Mhm.
And there's no doctrine that you can just refer to in a legalistic sense to guide you. You
Mhm.
have to do it yourself. And conditions shift so quickly that
Mhm.
there's no time to consult a book or go to a priest or whatever.
Mhm.
We don't need somebody else for us to be in direct contact with the sacred. And
Mhm.
that's what's so good to me about Taoism. I find everybody else unreliable.
Mhm. Wow. And that's that having that integrity, right? Is like moving through your life with integrity and not needing somebody else to tell you what is right or wrong. It's moving from a place of integrity where you just instinctually know and you want to be that way. No one's telling you to be that way. There's no retribution. If you don't do this, then you're going to hell. No, it's just your integrity, your authenticity, and your knowing what's right and the right way to move through life.
Because it probably is going to work out better.
Hmm.
So just to go back to painting, for example, who's going to tell you whether putting a red stroke on the right side is right or wrong?
Yeah.
And you have to decide that,
Hmm.
right? Now, you might put that red stroke down one day and go, wait, it should have been blue, so therefore it's wrong.
Hmm.
Or you can put it down one day and go, oh my God, I can see how that expands to something else. Then it's right. You
Hmm.
see, people want a sense of absolute right and wrong,
Hmm.
but that's not possible. You have to go by context. You
Hmm.
have to go by intention again.
Hmm.
You have to go by how that act affects everything else at that moment,
Hmm.
right? So that's why, as my master would say, Taoism is not for stupid people.
I love that.
Yeah,
Well, it's not for everybody. And
it
honestly,
is.
it before I discovered your book, I actually tried to read a translation of the Tao Te Ching on my own. And
Yes.
it was a very, there's so many translations. Am I correct in saying that the Tao Te Ching has been translated in more often and into more languages than any other book in the world except for the Bible, the
I
Christian
think
Bible?
so. I think there are 250 translations in English alone and 400, around the world. So yes, it's been translated frequently, very frequently.
Frequently. And it's, a 2,500-year-old, philosophy from
Yes.
China. And as clearly no roots to China whatsoever. I was on a spiritual journey on a path, trying to figure some things out. When I read it without a guide, without a companion, which is, I love the way that you preface the book saying that,
Hmm.
it went completely over my head. I couldn't understand it because it was in a language, the way it had been translated. And I understand that a lot of things probably get lost in translation, going from an ancient Chinese context to a modern. All of those things, I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
I
And
understand.
yeah, discovering your book and the way you've presented an ancient wisdom in such a modern way that's so practical for somebody like myself.
Well, that's good.
It was very transformative for me.
I
And
have to say that there are not only th a lot of things lost in translation, I think there are a lot of mistranslations.
yes.
You said you didn't quite understand it.
Hmm.
What if the translator didn't understand it?
Also, yeah.
You
Yeah.
see? And they're just making stuff up.
Hmm.
This is why I always want to go back to the original.
Mm.
What did they actually say?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
you'll find that people will translate it based on what they guess it is.
Hmm.
A certain number of early translations were done by people who were Christian and said, surely this is a Christian book. And so that they warped it to try to make it Christian,
Yeah.
you see? So that's a big mistake. And then we can't tell the difference,
Right.
right? I mean, if you're a scholar, you can look at when it's done, or you know who the translator was, and you can find out that those things are suspect. But to somebody who's just a sincere person who says, "Oh, I'd like to read the Tao Te Ching,"
Hmm.
they get taken in by all that.
Hmm.
And then there were promoters, people who wanted to popularize these ideas.
Hmm.
And they gave, and two examples are people who translated the term as the uncarved block.
Hmm.
That's like not in the book. And it's the word for simplicity.
Oh, wow.
Well, where does it say an uncarved block? It doesn't. And
Mm.
then here's the problem. An uncarved block means it is a block. It's still a piece of wood, right? It's not a living tree anymore. It's a block of wood. Well,
Mm-hmm.
then it's already been cut.
Mm.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no one's carved it yet, but does that really articulate simplicity? You see? And here's the other word, and I know we might talk about this, but flow.
Mm-hmm.
Flow does not appear in the Tao Te Ching. It does appear once, the word,
Wow. Yeah.
and it only talks about, and here they leave this out,
Mm.
flowing downward.
Mm-hmm.
And you flow downward because that's the natural course. That's where water goes. It goes down.
Water seeks
But
its.
they just go flow.
Yeah.
And then they sold this and they packaged it as this fantastic idea that all you have to do is flow in life. Go back to your experience as a graphic designer.
Mm-hmm.
Where's flow there? How's that going to save us then?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's not that there isn't a way to move with the currents of Tao,
Mm-hmm.
but people have cheapened it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we who are sincere and going to it, we just go, well, we learn it carefully, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like, you were brought up in Catholicism, I'm brought up in Chinese culture. Okay, you tell me 10, I'm going to memorize the 10 things, I'm going to do the 10 things, I really believe in those 10 things, and so on. And then it turns out to be false.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the people that are, preaching those 10 things aren't even doing it themselves.
No, they aren't.
Yeah.
And that's true not only of Catholicism, but it's true of Taoism and Buddhism. There are guys arrested every year
Mm-hmm.
for their abuses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so that really undercuts things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And this again is why for me, what really resonates with me is the fact that you don't need anybody else to be telling you what to do when you follow the way, as you've outlined in your book. It's really the responsibility and the integrity is up to you.
It is, of course, it helps to have a teacher.
And
Right.
this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is why your book as a guide, and I think you actually in the introduction, you actually write one of my favorite. I don't know if I'm gonna, yeah, as it says here, that some I can't find the exact sentence, but you say something about needing a guide along the way, needing a companion.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
yeah, 365 Tao can be that such companion. And that's why I just this book has just been so transformational for me because it's not only obviously for me, it seems like the most practical translation of this wisdom from modern times,
Mhm.
and but it gives the guide along the way. It's not just like, as you said, it's not just here's a sentence and just go and like do what you will with it. It puts it in a way that you can actually, put it into your daily practice, put it into your life, integrate it, learn from it. And I read this every single day. I've been rereading it on a loop for 15 years.
Well, thank you.
Every time I read it, every day I take away something new. And that for me is like very, very powerful. The way that you're so eloquent with the way that you write, and you're so eloquent in the way you've delivered this wisdom, is that it's not just a one and done thing. Like I will
No,
continue to do this for the rest of my life, and I will continue to learn like every single day.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
But what you're alluding to is actually part of a bigger circle.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, we need a guide.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, how do I get across town? Okay, turn left, turn right, do this and that. And then after that, you know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And in those subsequent trips, that's where your integrity and your intention matter.
Mm-hmm.
But when you become familiar with that path,
Mm-hmm.
then there's another possibility, even an obligation. Will you take the place of your guide and become the guide to others?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we start to counter the madness in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it all started with how reliable that guide was. And then it matters what your experiences on the path were. Because if they were horrible, then why would you guide anyone else on it? When you find that there are natural truths and those truths sustain you,
Mm-hmm.
then you can have faith in that path. Yes. If
Mm-hmm.
you someone just says you should do it because you believe, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't believe or you have problems, it's because your belief is not enough. That's not helpful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I tell you, turn left on the corner in 4 blocks and there's a gas station there, and there is, you
Mm-hmm.
can believe. If
Mm-hmm.
you come back and say there was no gas station and I tell you, but that's because your faith is not big enough, well, that's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So as you have this experience, you have confidence in that path.
Mm-hmm.
And you can give that confidence to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the circle becomes closed again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As you're saying this, I'd never really thought about it that way. But every time I share anything from this book, and even within the community, what you're just saying just resonated with me. And I'm only just now putting two and two together, which is pretty wild. I started on this path with you as my guide with this incredible book. And over the course of the 15 years that I've been studying it and reading it, I've been able to impart my wisdom, my understanding of it with others that's hopefully, well, I know has inspired them to pick up the book
Yes,
for
indeed.
themselves and
Right.
incorporate it into their own life. And then they're going to share. I know this the power of this little book. Like it just gets shared around and around and around, and it becomes more, it's almost like it compounds the power
Yes.
of it. The,
Yes. Yes. Or ripples and
yeah,
expands.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
yeah.
And
That's
that's what we want.
mhm,
And that, there's so much. Well, can I point out the inverse?
mhm, mhm,
If you lied, if you exploited people, if you were mean to people,
mhm.
that would also expand too.
Yeah, very true.
And that's why we choose to be good.
Mhm,
And everyone, we're back to the same thing about art for art's sake.
mhm,
We're good for the sake of goodness.
mhm,
People say, well, hey, unless you open an orphanage, unless you countered the war in Ukraine, unless you changed all of global warming,
mhm,
unless you have $1 billion, well, that's you're not really good. That's stupid. That's ridiculous,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
You do it for its own sake,
mhm.
and it becomes part of Tao then.
Yes.
And so it's like cleaning up a river that's polluted,
Mhm,
right? Well, what good is it? Someone else is going to throw the garbage in. Yeah, but I'm taking the garbage out.
mhm,
And that's what saves the river and saves ourselves as well.
mhm. absolutely. And in doing so, you're somewhat setting an example. Others are going to see you cleaning the river and be like, oh, maybe I should go in there and take
That's
a
right.
couple of things out by myself. It's that, as you said, the ripple.
Well,
And
that goes back to art again. Maybe you won't meet those people, but if they see your piece of
yeah.
art and they see, oh, she has the courage to do this,
Hmm.
then I have the courage to do it too.
Hmm.
So, yes, it's something we have to keep going. We
Hmm.
have to keep doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And your book has created such a ripple.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you.
it's when you wrote it, did you have any, and no, you wrote it 33 years ago. It's correct. It was
Yeah.
published in 90. Yeah, did you have any idea that it was going to have the ripple effect that it has?
No, and it was a book I wrote with, speaking of for its own sake, I didn't have much intention. I didn't even know what I was doing. Speaking of like, I don't know what's happening. So I said to my editor at the time, I've written this book and it's kind of this thing and it's one page and whatever. And he goes, oh, you wrote a book of meditations. Oh, I did. And so that, I didn't even know what I was doing,
Hmm.
but that's was a great advantage in the end.
Hmm. Hmm. But it was, yeah, the ripple rippled because there was just, yeah,
Yeah. So if you
everything was like,
respond to the natural, then the natural will keep going.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Isn't, yeah, that's just, I love that analogy in general. This is just a beautiful analogy for the Tao in general, I think.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
just being close